Rain hammered against the towering glass walls of Ashford Dynamics as employees hurried through the revolving doors, balancing coffee cups, laptops, and Monday morning frustration. The city skyline disappeared behind dark clouds, but inside the 28th floor office, everything was polished, bright, and ruthlessly competitive. Promotions here weren't earned through kindness. They were won through relentless ambition, impossible deadlines, and proving someone else wasn't good enough. And nobody understood that better than Ethan Carter. At 32, Ethan had built a reputation as one of the company's brightest project managers. Confident, sarcastic, and devastatingly good at reading people, he could charm clients into signing million-dollar contracts before lunch and destroy a weak presentation before dinner. His colleagues respected him. Some admired him. Others secretly hated him. One person openly did. Lena Brooks. If Ethan was fire, Lena was ice. She never smiled during meetings, never laughed at office jokes, never joined Friday happy hours. Every report she submitted was flawless. Every presentation was perfectly organized. Every email was answered within minutes. She wasn't trying to be liked. She was trying to be impossible to replace. Their rivalry had started almost 2 years earlier when they had competed for the same promotion. Ethan had won by a single vote from the executive board. Since then, every project became another silent battlefield. Whenever Ethan landed a new client, Lena found a way to outperform him the following month. Whenever Lena broke a company record, Ethan somehow managed to beat it before the quarter ended. The entire office had started placing bets on who would become director first. Neither of them admitted it, but everyone knew. They watched each other constantly. Morning. Ethan looked up from his coffee as Lena walked into the conference room carrying a stack of folders. Her dark curls were tied back neatly today, and she wore a charcoal gray blazer over a white blouse that somehow looked effortlessly elegant despite the stressful atmosphere around them. She didn't even look at him, just placed her files on the table, opened her laptop, started working. Typical. Someone wake up on the wrong side of the spreadsheet? Ethan asked with a grin. Several co-workers laughed. Lena continued typing. I don't remember asking for commentary. Ouch. She got you. More laughter. Ethan leaned back. You know, Brooks, one day you're going to have to learn how to have an actual conversation. She finally looked at him. I do. Really. I simply choose not to have one with you. The room exploded with laughter. Even Ethan had to admit. That one landed. The meeting began. Their CEO announced the biggest opportunity of the year. Ashford Dynamics had been invited to compete for a contract worth over $50 million. Winning it would practically guarantee someone's promotion. Naturally, only 2 people were selected to lead the proposal. Ethan Carter, Lena Brooks. The room immediately filled with whispers. They're going to kill each other. They'll never survive working together. This is going to be fun. The CEO ignored every reaction. You have 6 weeks. Ethan sighed dramatically. 6 weeks. He glanced toward Lena. I've survived worse. Without looking away from her laptop, she replied. So have I. The first week was chaos. Neither wanted to compromise. Every decision became an argument. Fonts, slides, budgets, marketing strategy, even coffee. You reordered my presentation. It was inefficient. It was brilliant. It was messy. It had personality. It had spelling mistakes. They were creative. They were embarrassing. Coworkers started avoiding the conference room entirely. One intern actually asked HR if separate evacuation procedures existed whenever Ethan and Lena were scheduled together. Late Thursday evening. The office was nearly empty. Only a few lights remained on. Ethan walked into the break room searching for caffeine. He found Lena sitting alone by the window. No laptop. No paperwork. Just quietly staring at the rain. For the first time, she looked tired. Really tired. Dark circles beneath her eyes. Hair slightly messy. She hadn't noticed him. He almost walked away. Almost. Instead, he poured himself coffee. You know? She didn't respond. You could go home occasionally. Still nothing. I hear people actually sleep. Without turning around, she quietly answered. So I've heard. He frowned. There was something different in her voice. Not cold. Not sarcastic. Just exhausted. Before he could say anything else, her phone buzzed. She immediately stood. Answered. Hi, Mom. Her entire expression softened. No, I'm still at work. A pause. I'm okay. Another pause. I'll stop by tomorrow. She smiled. I promise. Then she hung up. When she turned around, the walls were back. Professional. Controlled. Untouchable. She walked past Ethan without another word. Yet somehow, that 30-second phone call stayed in his mind for the rest of the night. Over the next several days, he noticed things. She always skipped lunch. She stayed later than everyone. She never complained. She never accepted help. And every Friday, she disappeared exactly at 5 o'clock. No exceptions. Curious, Ethan asked one of the senior accountants. Where does Brooks go every Friday? The accountant shrugged. No idea. Family maybe. She never talks about her personal life. Of course she didn't. A week later, the tension finally exploded. Their presentation rehearsal wasn't going well. Ethan wanted something bold. Lena wanted something practical. Voices grew louder. Coworkers pretended not to listen. Finally, Ethan laughed. You know what your problem is? She folded her arms. I'm sure you're going to tell me. You push everyone away. Silence. You act like nobody's good enough. Still silence. Then Ethan smirked. I'm honestly surprised anyone could put up with you. The room went quiet. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Lena looked directly into his eyes. Not angry. Not offended. Just unexpectedly sad. Then she spoke so quietly the room almost missed it. You do. Silence. Complete silence. Ethan blinked. What? She picked up her notebook. You put up with me. She walked toward the door. Paused. Without looking back, she added. Every day. Then she left. No dramatic exit. No slammed door. Nothing. The conference room remained frozen. Someone dropped a pen. Another employee slowly whispered. Did anyone else feel that? Nobody answered. Because nobody understood what had just happened. Least of all Ethan. For the first time in 2 years. He couldn't think of a sarcastic reply. Instead, he simply stood there replaying her words over and over. You do. Those 2 words echoed louder than every argument they'd ever had. And somewhere deep inside, something had begun to change. Enjoying this story? Don't forget to subscribe for more emotional, cinematic romance stories filled with unforgettable twists, heartfelt moments, and characters you'll never stop thinking about. Ethan barely remembered driving home that evening. The city lights blurred past his windshield while one sentence replayed over and over inside his head. You do. He had expected Lena to snap back with another sarcastic comment. Instead, she had answered with quiet honesty. Not anger. Not hatred. Just a simple truth. Somehow, that hurt far more than any argument they had ever shared. The next morning, Ethan arrived at the office earlier than usual. Normally, Lena was already working before sunrise. Today, her desk was empty. For reasons he couldn't explain, he kept glancing toward it every few minutes. At 9:15, she finally walked in carrying a coffee. Her expression looked exactly the same as always. Professional. Calm. Unreadable. As if yesterday had never happened. She sat down, opened her laptop, started typing. No greeting. No awkwardness. Nothing. Ethan frowned. How could she act so normal? Around noon, the CEO called both of them into his office. I've reviewed your first proposal, he said, placing the presentation on the table. It's good. Ethan smiled. But the CEO looked directly at both of them. It isn't great. Silence. You two are trying to beat each other instead of building something together. Neither argued. Because he was right. I don't care who gets the credit. I care who wins the client. He pushed the folder back across the desk. You have 2 weeks before the final presentation. If you can't work together, he paused. I'll replace both of you. The words landed like a punch. Neither Ethan nor Lena had ever been threatened with replacement. Outside the office, they walked in silence toward the conference room. Finally, Ethan sighed. So, she looked at him. So, I guess we're both unemployed if we keep acting like idiots. To his surprise, a tiny smile appeared on her face. It disappeared almost instantly, but Ethan saw it. It was the first genuine smile he had ever seen from her. And somehow, it changed everything. For the first time in 2 years, they spent an afternoon actually listening instead of arguing. Ideas began flowing. Slides improved. Problems disappeared. By evening, they had accomplished more in one day than during the previous 2 weeks. As they packed their laptops, Ethan cleared his throat. Can I ask you something? You usually do. Yesterday, she stopped zipping her bag. I knew you'd bring it up. You said. He hesitated. You do. She looked down for a second before meeting his eyes. I wasn't trying to embarrass you. I know. You really do put up with me. He laughed softly. I spend half my life arguing with you. Exactly. She shrugged. Everyone else avoids me. You don't. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Ethan asked quietly, Why? Why what? Why does everyone avoid you? Her smile faded. My father used to say. She swallowed. If you expect nothing from people, they can't disappoint you. Ethan didn't know what to say. So you built walls. I built survival. Those words stayed with him long after she left the building. Friday arrived. 5 o'clock. Exactly as always. Lena packed her things immediately. This time Ethan couldn't ignore his curiosity. He followed her. Not closely, just enough to see where she went. She drove across town to a quiet neighborhood. Eventually she stopped outside a small brick house. An elderly woman opened the front door before Lena even knocked. They hugged tightly. Lena carried groceries inside, then closed the door. Ethan sat in his car across the street. He suddenly felt guilty. This wasn't his business. As he prepared to leave, the elderly woman looked through the window. She smiled warmly toward Lena. For the first time, Ethan realized something. Lena wasn't staying late every night because she loved work. She was supporting someone. The next Monday, he casually asked, How's your mom? Lena froze. Slowly she looked up. How do you know about my mom? Ethan immediately regretted speaking. She narrowed her eyes. Did you follow me? Silence answered for him. Her chair pushed back. You followed me home. I wasn't trying to. You had absolutely no right. Every employee turned to look. Lena. No. Her voice shook. I spend years keeping my private life private. And you decide to spy on me? Without another word, she grabbed her bag and walked out. The office fell silent. Ethan closed his eyes. He had made a terrible mistake. For the rest of the day, she ignored every message, every email, every call. Late that evening, there was a knock on Ethan's apartment door. He opened it. Lena stood there, still angry, still hurt. I shouldn't have come. No. He stepped aside. I'm glad you did. She remained standing. My mother has early-stage Alzheimer's. Ethan's heart sank. I work late because medical bills aren't cheap. I skip lunch because I'm saving money. I leave every Friday because she still remembers Fridays. He couldn't say a word. She remembers that my father used to bring flowers home every Friday. So now I do. Tears filled her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. I don't need pity. You never did. She looked away. I wanted one place where nobody knew. I'm sorry. He meant it more than he'd ever meant anything. I crossed a line. You did. I'll spend however long it takes earning your trust again. She studied his face. For the first time, she believed him. Very quietly she asked, You really mean that? He nodded. I do. After a long silence, she finally smiled. A real smile. Small, gentle, beautiful. I suppose. She whispered. We're even now. Outside, rain began falling once again. Neither of them noticed. Because for the first time since they had met, they weren't rivals standing on opposite sides of a conference table. They were simply two imperfect people, finally beginning to understand one another. To be continued. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more emotional romance stories filled with unforgettable moments, surprising twists, and heartfelt endings. Every new chapter brings you closer to the story's biggest secrets. Red Heart.